Hello, Antonia Rolls here. I'm doing a series of small videos navigating the landscape of loss after deep grief and during deep grief. I have lost two sons to suicide and addiction, and this is not a path I want to travel, and yet here I am travelling along this path, and many other people are travelling with me. There are so many of us who have lost someone we love, whether it's a son, a daughter, a family member, a spouse, a friend, all of it. There's no competition in grief. All grief and all landscape of loss has to be walked, because while we are still breathing, we have no choice. We are still alive. So, God help me. God does help me. I'm going to talk about how God helps me. I am no saint. I was baptized Catholic, and I ran as far as I could away from it as soon as I hit 12. So I lived a life outside Catholicism, and it was often great fun. My brother Dominic was a priest, but I always had this deep connection with God. I didn't do it the Catholic way. I did what there's a saying which says that God, not that God made man in his own image, but that man made God in his own image. And that's what I did. I constructed a God that was in my own image, and because I was such a confused person for a lot of my life, my God was confused and didn't make sense, and nothing really worked. But I had here a deep connection with something profound and spiritual and other. So how did I get back into church? Nothing that I had planned. It happened like this. Kostya had died, and I had had this amazing download the night that Kostya died about light and dark, and about how insidious and cruel and powerful and insistent forces of darkness are, and how they try and tell us that there is no light, so we need to sink further into darkness and bleakness and hopelessness and depression and loss. And I also understood in the same download that the light never left us, and it's always here. The light wins. It's like I always say, you have a really bright room, and in the corner there's a tiny spot of dark and you don't notice it. Conversely, you have a really dark room, very pitch black, and in the corner you have a pinpoint of light. You can't take your eyes off it. So I understood something of dark and light, which has informed my exhibition Beloved, more of which in a minute. So I understood light and dark. Then, as Dmitri became more and more ill and was more and more addicted to alcohol and prescription meds, he started hearing the voices in his head. He started seeing things and people that frightened him. One afternoon, I was absolutely compelled to go to my church, which I'd never, it's not my church, I knew it was there, but I'd never been in it, not really. And so I was compelled to go and have confession. And as a Catholic, we believe in the sacrament of confession, which is where you confess your sins to a priest and you are given absolution. Now, don't underestimate this. If there is something weighing absolutely deeply, heavily on your heart, and something that you cannot find forgiveness in yourself for, and you go to confession, just the act of saying what it is to somebody who has the power, whether you believe it or not, the power to absolve you, to forgive your sins. I was compelled to find a priest. in the church and ask for confession. What I wanted to confess was so jumbled and so complicated and so painful that I didn't know where to begin. So it took a bit of time to find a priest. And I did find one. I went to a mass there. And afterwards I waylaid one of the priests and said, I need confession, Father, because we call the priest Father. And I expected him to say, well, on Wednesday at 3 o'clock, come back and I'll meet you round the back. What he said was, I must just greet this person and then we'll go in the church and do it now. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not sure if I can handle this. Bearing in mind, I didn't know why I was going into the church to do confession. I just knew I had to do it. So I went in and we sat down in full sunshine on one of the pews, and I burst into tears and I talked about all the things that had tormented and troubled me, the wrong decisions, the difficulties that had led up to such a sad death of my son Kostya and his addictions, my blindness to so many things, my wrong choices. And now I had this son at home, Dmitri, who was going down the same path, and I was so distressed about things that I probably hadn't done right and hadn't helped him. It was the most powerful experience I can remember, because this priest was so gentle. He was so kind, and he just said a few words of support, and they really hit home. And then he said the prayer of absolution, and I felt that my heart had opened up and I had been forgiven. Now I have to add here that it is not really enough to say, I am forgiven. That's the idea. But I still have to work through all these things that I've done wrong, my wrong choices. I still have to come to terms with all the things that I had confessed to this priest. So it's not as if I skipped out like a lambkin. I was truly moved and deeply healed, but it wasn't as if that was the end of it. So anyway, I come home and I say to Dmitri, I've been to confession. And he was really pleased about it. And then later that night he killed himself because he had planned to do it. Now I feel that I had been given strength to deal with this by this amazing need to find a church, find a priest, go to confession and be treated with love and golden kindness, and to have someone who has the power to absolve sins. That's what Catholic priests are given. Whether you agree with it or not, that is one of their jobs. The main part of their job is the ability to absolve sins, to forgive sins. So I had been lightened and welcomed, and after Dmitri died, the next day, I knew that I could go back into that church and there was a sacred space for me there. And I didn't know how to articulate that sacred space, but I knew I was safe in the church, and that thing that was bigger than me, that connection here, was becoming clearer. And that connection in my mind had prepared me for another tragic loss and had said, okay, this is happening. You have to be ready. You don't know what's coming, but I am going to hold you and I am going to prepare you and I'm going to give you somewhere to go to, and I am going to help your mind by allowing a priest to absolve you of all these things that were troubling and tormenting me. So I have been over a year now going back to the Catholic Mass every week. It isn't a kind of tick, like I say. It's not that I now am helped every day by God. I am helped every day by God, but that nobody ever said that just because God is listening or we find God, that anything's easy. It's not easy, because I have lost 2 sons and that can't be wiped out. And I am utterly bereft without my boys, completely. But I have somewhere to go and somewhere to turn to, which is hugely bigger than me, that has showered me with grace and love, and that has held me through those times where I cannot find a place to sit, and I cannot find relief, and I cannot find a way to stop crying. I am held. And when those storms are past, I know I've been held. So when I say, God help me, well, God does help me. My lovely brother, the Catholic priest, Father Dominic, he left this to my daughter and she has given it to me. So I wear this crucifix round my neck, and I do it as a sign to myself that actually I'm very grateful that God is listening, and that he cares, does care. God is the light, and the light that never goes out, never goes out. And this is why I'm looking for the light all the time. And often I'm not in the light, I don't feel I am. And I look for it, and I find it. And for just enough time to give me a smidgen of comfort, I can be reconnected with life. I can be reconnected with the world. And I go on. So, very quickly, Beloved, my exhibition, bringing suicide and addictions into the light, opens in Edinburgh on Saturday the 2nd of August, and the opening event is Saturday the 2nd of August at 6 till 9. Everyone is welcome. I am supported by two excellent charities, AdFam UK and the Scottish Families Affected by Alcohol and Drugs. And I am grateful to these two excellent charities who have given me so much. So, God bless, and God help you. This is a new painting for the exhibition, and it is called Dimitri and His Guardian Angel. I believe we all have a guardian angel who stays with us, loves us, watches over us. And this is my son Dimitri. He died when he was 27, and I've chosen this amazing American Indian, probably because both Dimitri and this Indian have huge noses. Dimitri's isn't as big as this man, but he was very aware of his big nose. It was a lovely big nose. And also the dignity of this man, of this American Indian, is absolutely what Dimitri needed. The power, the strength, just the dignity and the beauty of this man. So he's looking out for Dimitri, he's looking into the distance, and Dimitri stands next to him, behind him, and is gazing at him because now he can see him. And I have here, for my angel is with you and he is watching your life, and that is from the prophet Baruch in the Old Testament. And down here from Isaiah, which I just love this is also a prophet from the Old Testament in the Bible. But those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And then I've written my love, because he is my love. But I imagine these two, that is something that they will do. They will mount up with wings like eagles, and they will run and not be weary, and they will walk and not faint. Here is the second new painting. It's called The Harrowing of Hell. And the idea of this is this hell here is the bleak darkness of addiction and distress and abandonment, you know, the feeling of abandonment into the dark. And these people here are being tormented by dark shapes that are glowing with red. But as I say, in what I believe is the light never leaves, and actually the light is there holding on to each one of these. There's a kind of cityscape here. It's supposed to be bleak, And here we have Dimitri being tormented by the dark shapes, but look who has their arms around him, it's the light. And here is Kostya, this is how he used to sit, slumped over, and he's being tormented by dark shapes, but behind him, with its white light around him, is light. So the harrowing of hell is after Jesus died on the cross. He apparently went down into hell and cleared it out. He shut the gates of hell, he defied death, he defeated death, and everyone left with him. So he harrowed hell. And I love that idea of hell being shut and death being no longer, the darkness no longer has power over our death. And here, this is a quote from Rumi, who is, I don't know, he was a Sufi prophet, a writer, and it says, "I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being." I can't remember who Rumi was, so I might have got that wrong, but he was Sufi, and he was a mystic and a poet.